There's no question about the marvel of in vitro fertilisation or the brilliance of the scientists who pioneered it. In the last 40 years, IVF has miraculously transformed childless couples into parents by literally creating millions of babies. But there's an element of the technique which is causing a little-known but serious ethical dilemma. What do couples do when they complete their IVF treatment without using all of their embryos? Destroy the leftover ones or donate them to other want-to-be parents? It can be the most generous gift of all, but would you be prepared to give your unborn child to a complete stranger?
Ready, run to daddy. Go!
Come on! Yeah. This is the Thomas family. And these are the Argles.
Oh, nice.
They've become best friends.
Look at those eyelashes already.
And today's barbecue is a chance to meet their respective new babies, 3-month-old William and 4-week-old Hannah.
What do you think, guys?
She's so cute.
But all is not as it seems.
Can you see baby William? Hey, he's going to be your friend. He's going to be your friend.
Just friends, though.
That's right.
We can't get married one day.
No.
Because all of the children are in fact full-blood genetic siblings.
They are genetic siblings, but they're not brothers and sisters, if that makes sense.
And what's the difference?
Well, our children are brothers and sisters because they're our children.
Genetically, though, Kobe and Dave are the parents of all 5 kids because they donated their embryos left over from IVF. Those embryos were implanted in Kathy and became James and Hannah. She and Paul are their mum and dad.
I can't imagine James and Hannah not being here, and the thought of them being stuck as an embryo indefinitely frozen in time, it saddens me when there's so many people out there who, like us, would love to have them as part of their family. A lot of love and emotion and money goes into making them, and they were potential children. They could have been our kids. So I can't then just go from feeling they would have been our kids one day to just defrosting them.
When scientists developed IVF, it's doubtful they considered the emotional attachment couples would feel towards their leftover embryos. To some, an embryo is just a bunch of cells, but to others, each one represents an unborn child. Once a family is complete, though, parents face what can be an impossible ethical dilemma: to destroy the embryos they don't need or want, or donate them, often to complete strangers.
Made a bite of that for you?
We donated our embryos to Kathy and Paul. We found them online in the classifieds.
How did you feel reading through all these ads of childless couples who wanted a donated embryo?
Oh, it was heartbreaking. And
there's so many people out there that, you know, they're looking to have babies but can't.
It's a huge responsibility when you think about it, isn't it? You're choosing the parents for your embryos.
Yep.
Essentially, they gave us a chance at parenting. Yeah. They gave us a gift.
Does it bother you that genetically James and Hannah are not your flesh and blood?
No, we don't feel like they're less ours because we don't have that genetic link.
After 2 years of trying for a baby, Kathy and Paul were devastated to learn that they were infertile. What's it like to be told that your dream of having your own family isn't a possibility for you?
My dad and I were best mates, and I had always envisaged having that with my son or my daughter, and then realising that that wasn't going to happen. It hurts. So.
It was hard, wasn't it, mate? Sorry.
A friend mentioned embryo donation, something they'd never heard of, but it made sense to them. So they posted an ad on a website that links potential donors with childless couples. Kobe Argle spotted it and emailed Kathy. The 2 women connected immediately and agreed to meet.
It was less than 10 minutes after they left us that day that they sent us a text message saying Did we want to be their embryos, mummies and daddies? And yeah, sorry, it was the best text message ever to receive. I think we cried the whole way home.
Very soft and gentle.
Everyone talks about that bond between a mother and child. Did you stress about how you would feel when you first saw James?
Oh, beforehand, definitely. Not knowing how I was going to feel. I mean, not knowing if I would see that child and go, oh my God, what have I done? Or, oh my God, he looks just like my babies. But I think the second I saw him, I knew it was how it was always meant to be. Knowing that we were able to help someone do that is just amazing. I mean, it's an amazing feeling.
But you didn't look at that child and go, it's our son.
No, definitely not. This was obviously, we were both pregnant, so.
Kobe and Dave are relieved they made the right decision, although they're aware it could have ended so differently. Looks a lot like William.
Yeah, William's got a bit of a chubbier face, but the two of them are very similar. When you're donating, we have all the power. I mean, we choose who they go to, but as soon as they're donated, you kind of, the shoe's on the other foot and they have all the power and you never know exactly what's going to happen.
That's the dilemma another couple, Melinda Watson and her husband Dia, are now facing.
I can't bring myself to make that decision. I can't think of someone else bringing up my child.
It took them 6 cycles of IVF to have their daughter Layla. Now they're being forced to decide what to do with their 8 remaining embryos. Do you think deep down you know the decision you're going to make?
No. The worst part would be knowing, maybe to try and detach myself from thinking that that is my child, because it wouldn't be my child. I'd just be the donor.
So you have 2 weeks to decide what to do with your embryos on ice.
Yep. Yep.
3 days ago, a letter arrived from their fertility clinic informing them they don't keep embryos beyond 10 years. And that time was up. So 2 options: dispose of them or donate. How did you feel when you first read this?
I think I felt numb, knowing that I was being forced into making a decision.
Are you ready to see them disposed of?
No. No. But at the same time, I'm not ready to donate them.
So what do you do?
Don't know.
The problem is Melinda and Dia always wanted more children. But after having their daughter, it wasn't possible for medical reasons. That's why this decision is so difficult. They see the embryos as their unborn children and wonder how they could possibly choose the right family.
At the end of the day, it's like sort of giving the most precious thing you have to a complete stranger.
How do you choose? Well, you know, choosing couple A or couple B, or couple C or couple D.
It's like a job interview for your unborn child.
Absolutely, but you can't fire them. One of my fears is if the family that's going to raise one of these kids is not sort of going to raise them properly, or they're going to be an abusive family. You can't really tell just by someone filling in an application or sitting an interview. You can't tell if they're going to be a good parent, bad parent.
You can understand their concerns. The decision to donate involves an incredible leap of faith between 2 families who hardly know each other, and yet they'll share the same genetic offspring. You had a lot to talk about, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we...
But maybe it's not letting go of the dream. Maybe it's letting someone else have their dream. You know, someone else gets to have their dream. And that'd be pretty special to be a part of.
In here is where we grow the embryos.
Associate Professor Peter Illingworth is the medical director at IVF Australia. He says while embryo donation can be a wonderful gift, it's also a minefield. Do people struggle with the idea that a full-blood sibling of their children will grow up in a completely different family.
Many people find that idea very tough indeed.
Do most people proceed with it, or do most people say it's too hard?
The majority of couples do not go ahead in the long run because it is such a difficult, such an emotional decision for the couples to take.
Coming up, when donation goes wrong. Do you feel like your child's been stolen?
Pretty much. Like how it's just been used.
And has the science of baby making gone too far? There is no way that child could then trace its genetic history. And we know the importance of a child knowing where they came from. That's next on 60 Minutes.